Boy from Andromeda, I was still at school. I was only like 16 years old. Just a wee thing. But because I'd been brought up in the industry, like with Mum on set quite a lot, it felt like the most normal thing in the world. But I was really keen to do as well as I could, you know, be as prepared as I could. And by doing that, and I have to thank Mum and my sister Jessica for that, is that they said, don't ever go to set when you're not prepared. And it's true, don't ever go on set if you don't know all your lines, because it's just not fair on anybody else. And because I had that experience, or I had that knowledge, I absolutely loved the experience. It was amazing. I mean, there were times it was just hilariously bad, but it was not because I didn't know what I was doing or I wasn't prepared. So I loved that experience. The script went on a series of sort of roller coasters that I'd never experienced in my life. So it was wonderful to have the opportunity to play at a level way above. Like I had a wonderful childhood and things were perfect, but I didn't really have a lot to draw from. So I started reading a lot of acting books like Stanislavski and working with people so that I could garner some experience. It was sort of one of my first really adult characters. She was when I say really adult, she wasn't 18, but I was probably 18 at the time. And she was a horse trainer. And I had to learn really quickly how to ride. I can ride, but not well. You know, it's one of those things, you know, you go audition for Lord of the Rings. They said, can you ride? And I went, I'm okay. She said, thank you for being honest. It's like, you don't lie about those things. I learned that on day one. So I had to train horses and ride bareback. That was always interesting. But it was much more than that. It was working with all adult actors and all, you know, it sounds strange, but I started when I was 13 or 14. And because my mindset was still kind of young, I had to suddenly go from a teenager who was having fun at school and just starting to go out and enjoy life and so forth. I went from that to having to manage horses. So it was like, it was a real learning curve, like a steep learning curve, but I loved it. I really enjoyed going from playing kids' roles to an adult role, so it was good fun. I started with a character and she was only on for a few months, but it was my first experience of fast turnaround. And I hadn't done Home and Away at that time, and I really only did sort of, I don't know, 2 or 3 days a week for maybe a month. It was really like a very sort of compacted edition of what it was actually going to be like to do fast turnaround television. And also the show was very new. It was only a few months old. So that was an amazing experience, but like shooting fast turnaround, multi-camera, it's like, whoa. You have to know your scripts just so well. And then, you know, you just add all your blocking and everything. There isn't a lot of blocking. I don't know if you've been on set, but it's just like, and you block and then you go and your director's not with you. So going from a feature film, and I think by the time I'd done that, I'd done a feature and maybe 3 or 4 drama series where I was playing either the lead or a guest lead. And going from that sort of intensity of collaborative work and, you know, really turning to your director and going, you know, what's my motivation? To standing on set and them go, it's a bite, just moving on. You're like, I thought we were just doing a rehearsal. I'm really sorry there was no performance in that. And they're like, that's fine. That was a baptism of fire, because I had never, like, the experience that I had on Shorty at the beginning was really small and really minor as a character as well. And I walked straight into a lead role and I was playing a doctor. So in terms of a set and other characters in the set, there was only me. Because over here, excuse me, over here there is, what is it? The equity means that you're either, you don't speak or you have 50 words minimum. And so I was constantly like going on with these huge medical speeches and just having no idea what I was talking about. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. So I'd be on set like shaking and going, oh, I can't do this. And then slowly but surely, it probably took me about 2 months of literally just really freaking out. But like that made me learn my lines like nothing else. You know, not just learning your lines, because you've got to get over that sort of nervousness of upsetting the what would you call it? It's like upsetting a waterbed. The thing is so delicate, seriously, because there's like 5 people in a scene. If one person trips their lines, then you've got to go again, and then again and again, and you don't have the time. There's no time there. I liked her, but I spoke with them many, many times about the fact that I thought she was a little bit staid, a little bit mumsy perhaps. She wasn't a mum, but it's difficult because she was a doctor. So they kind of went, well, she's a doctor, we'll just make her a doctor and she's good at everything and she could never do any wrong. And I kept saying, well, why did you have an affair? Why couldn't she do something dramatic? Because otherwise she's just dull. And I kept sort of going, maybe I could play her a bit mean or, you know, a little bit bitchy or something. And it just never happened. And I think for myself, I could have brought more things to the table and I was just a bit sort of shy and didn't want to upset the apple cart either. But sadly, as a character, she became almost matronly. It's a really complex character. She was schizophrenic and she had been institutionalised her whole life. So suddenly I went from me, happy-go-lucky girl, not really a lot of experience in that, going, right, okay, I want to research, where can I go? So I spent a lot of time in, we filmed in Wellington, there was a mental institution in central Wellington that I spent quite a lot of time with the patients and the doctors, and they were amazing. I spent a half hour chatting to someone who I thought was a doctor who was actually a patient and an inpatient, and I was like talking to the doctor and I said, I had no idea. Because in my very naive mind, I'd gone, oh, if they're schizophrenic, they're going to be like, it's just going to be so easy to tell. I had no idea. And this person was completely coherent and completely fine, obviously, and completely normal. But as, you know, you do, I think, sometimes get naive sort of ideas about what perhaps people, you know, the character's going to be like. And I really appreciate that time and experience that the producers also gave me. Willy Nilly was a whole departure. I'd never really done comedy, and to this day I haven't really done it, but I loved it. It was such a gorgeous crew, a gorgeous cast. We were filming in the most idyllic location in Wellington, or just out of Wellington, and everyone just clicked, and it was just lovely. And you know, I remember on the very first day, Mike Smith was directing, and he was like, okay, we're going to be really behind. We've just got too much to shoot, too much to do. And we're all going, okay. So we're like really prepared and going, no, but relax. You know, make sure that you don't overplay anything, or just do it. We just got to really rock on. We're all going. We got through the first half of the day, and he's like, okay, so we're an hour and a half ahead. We can probably relax now. It just ran really smoothly, and she was a character that was hysterical. Her name was Chantal. And she was the town bike. So, but it was just, you know, it was one of those completely over the top characters that you can, if you just play it straight, it just all comes together. Like I created a voice for her, and I played it like, it's really naive, but like really, why would no one like her? I mean, she's sleeping with everyone's husbands, but why would that be a problem? And it was a lot of fun to play. But in the end, they said to me, she slept with everybody in the village. We don't know what to do with her. I was like, you know what? I think she should go, probably. So yeah, with sadness, Chantal had to leave. Rake was just bliss. I got to work with Richard Roxburgh, who's just a fantastic human being and a really generous actor. So it was really, really nice because I hadn't been involved in acting. I'd really been focusing on presenting, and I'd been in Russia by this stage for 8 months. Filming everyday live news, and that was a challenge to say the least, but I was kind of hungry for acting again, so it's just such a treat to walk straight back into something like Rake, which is so beautifully written, and there is, honestly, you read it and just go, ha, thank you, and a really, really great crew and really, really lovely cast, and I just loved it, every minute of it. It was a treat to work on, absolute treat. I just wish there were more. But my character was really dodgy. She'd slept with his son, who was 16, and she's not. So it was all wrong. So yeah, it was a great character, but they obviously had to remove her from anything before he did. But yeah, she had not a lot of scruples, which is always fun to play. You know, it's great to be cast as someone who's just really dodged. I think I've been incredibly lucky working. Well, we are, all New Zealanders and Australians are really lucky that we can work in both countries. And I've always really, really appreciated that, because I think you know, if you're stuck somewhere and you can't, you don't necessarily fit their bill, as it were, which is often the case. You know, you may not. I don't really necessarily fit the bill for a lot of New Zealand productions. So coming over here, I found that I was getting more and more auditions and more work, especially when I was younger. I just sort of rolled into things, which was really exciting. And I so enjoy going back to New Zealand. The only thing that's tricky is the accent, that I forget where I am. And then when I got to Russia, they wanted like the typical BBC accents. I was like, but no, it's great once you, you know, it's just discipline. But I would love to do more work in New Zealand if I can, you know, acting work. I've been, you know, doing a lot of presenting work and a lot of commercial sort of things, bread and butter to keep me alive and pay the bills, obviously. But it would be a real treat to be able to do some more acting work there. I'd absolutely love to come back and do some.